This week on the Chef's Cut, we are going in on cooking competition shows. There are so many cooking competition shows now. Is the market too saturated? Is Padma's new show coming for Top Chef?
Bigger money pot. Go against the Top Chef empire.
And for a walking confession, we get a behind the scenes of Iron Chef from a Baby Joe flam back in the day.
And I never signed anything, so I don't care. So I'm gonna fucking blow this up.
First, we need 10 seconds of your time. Please go back to rate and review this show wherever you are getting your podcast. It really helps a lot, and we appreciate all of your work to help keep the show going.
We have America's Culinary Cup coming out. We have Padma,
right,
who left Top Chef and now is launching. This seems to be, she left, she did some other things, right? She wrote some books. She was doing, Padma
she had her
Takes
show
America.
on PBS, yeah.
A couple different things. But now this is same format for the most part, launching on the same day. Gathering of chefs, bigger money pot, going against the Top Chef empire of Tom. So it's like, who's Brady? Who's Belichick? It's I feel like we're going to find out.
Well, Padma, it's like, in one way, it's like Padma built Top Chef, but now she's like coming for Top Chef. It's like, ooh,
that's what I'm saying. This is early 2000s Patriots drama. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm here
sports.
For it.
I get it. I totally know the sports references.
And I think because it's like, okay, Padma left, Top Chef has kept going. Kristen Kish comes in, phenomenal job. She's crushing it.
Right.
We got a new season coming out. We got North Carolina coming out, right?
Yep.
Stacked list of chefs on there. I know there's some people, I think, on that list that for sure. Some friends of mine on that list. We got a old Chicagoan. I know 𝗬𝗃 𝗖𝗵𝗲𝗳 out on there. And then there's a couple of kids who are out of Michigan now who are like a husband-wife combo. Who they were in Chicago before that. I know them. But again, Top Chef always gets a great list, always gets massive mix of people on there from all over, of all levels, really, really talented group.
And
right?
Padma's show is looking like it's leaning more towards heavily established fine dining chefs. So it's a little bit different in the way that where Top Chef has a lot of diversity in the types of cuisines and styles that the chefs cook. It looks like America's Culinary Cup. It's like they've got 𝗃𝗃 𝗖𝗃 is coming back for the competition. And there's so many other people, obviously, but those two definitely stood out.
Right. I think it's interesting because you have those big names like 𝗂𝗃 is probably the biggest, for lack of a better word, maybe commercial name on there.
That people know him.
People know, but Katie Button's a big name. Katie Button's a really big name, I think, in the food space as well. But then you have 𝗃𝗃 is one you named, where it's like I don't think a lot of people know who 𝗃𝗃 is if you ask somebody on the street. But chef wise, that dude,
he's a legend.
He won Bocuse d'Or.
That is insane. You people need to Google that. It is insane.
Right. So and then you have a bunch, and then everybody else in there is hitters, right? It's all hitters. It's all,
Emily Ewan, Beverly Kim.
Oh, yeah. Beverly Kibb's in there, who's, incredible. Deanna from Chicago, from 𝗃𝗃 is a phenomenal chef. Chris Morgan, I don't know if you know him. He was the opening chef at Maydan.
Oh, nice.
And he worked at, the Dabney before that. And he's a monster chef. It's a list of hitters on hitters, very serious, but it does seem very fine dining. And I think you see that in the judges too, right? Where they brought in,
Wylie
Dufresne, who,
and Michael 𝗬𝗎, right?
Yeah, 𝗬𝗎, who are pinnacles of fine dining, kind of I feel like that 2010 era.
Yeah, these were
they're both still doing it. They're both still super successful, but I feel like that
they were growing up in restaurants. Those were constant names you're hearing about.
And that golden era of molecular gastronomy, especially with Wylie, right?
Yeah, 100%.
With WD-50.
Yeah, pre-Alinea, Wylie Dufresne was the only one really in the U.S. kind of, from what I remember hearing coming up as a cook, I remember always hearing about him. And then you started to see it enter other markets like Chicago, West Coast, but Wylie Dufresne kind of kicked it off with WD-50.
Yeah, I remember you just hear stories about it. This is, pre-Instagram, pre all these things. So before his cookbook came out, you just hear stories about the crazy stuff they were doing. I think it's really interesting where it's so it's positioned super similar. I know I sent you the clip yesterday, but it's they're showing the kitchen, and the kitchen looks like a similar layout, right? It looks a lot like our Colorado kitchen, where it's like it's got the wood-fired oven, and it's got the ovens, and it's got the stations and the pantries, and it's like
the difference. You know what? I noticed the big difference though. They trade, instead of like stainless steel, it's like white surfaces, which is like, it just looks different. It's like more fine dining kitchen, because it's like, oh, you better work real clean, because that's not a stainless steel countertop.
You better work tight.
Everything's going to show.
But I think like that's interesting. And I think, you know, Top Chef go to North Carolina. I think North Carolina, you know, that's not a place I know a ton about. And, you know, it's like, maybe I did go there this year. I can't say as of yet. But I think it's a cool landscape of like, you have coast, you have mountains, you're on the tip of Appalachia and low country cuisine. So like, I think that is one of the really, really cool things about Top Chef, is that the seasons, you know, are so impacted by geographically where they are.
Yeah. And that's so cool, because we get to see it, and we get to know some of the like culinary influences of that area. We get to see the chefs interacting with that environment and the influence that it has. And I wonder, I don't know how it's going to go on Padma's new show, but I'm wondering if every challenge is within the kitchen, because it does seem like it is a little bit more contained. Because, okay, I have a confession. I may or may not have been contacted about applying to be on America's Culinary Cup when they were corralling chefs for it.
You declined the offer.
I mean, I have a job. Like, I can't. If I had a restaurant, that's the difference between doing private work and being in a restaurant. In a restaurant, it's hard enough, right? You have to shift people around to be able to cover you if you need to go away for a while, which is already hard. But as a person who's doing private work with a client, I have to be on call. I may not cook every day during that 2-month period, but I'm on salary to be on call when this person is in New York. So I can't say I'm going away for 2 months while I'm being paid.
You also don't have a team. So it's like, you know, if I'm leaving, it's like, you know, it might cost me more money to leave, because I'm going to have to hire extra bodies to cover the fact that I'm not there to cover whatever I need to cover. But I have people on people, right?
Yep.
And so I think like that's the advantage of restaurant, is you have team.
You know, it's so different.
If
it's
you're
a
not
day
there,
or
nobody's
two,
there.
Exactly. It's like a couple days, no problem. I can prep the food and have it. I can leave instructions for one of the staff to like heat up or serve or all that stuff if it's, you know, just 1 or 2 people. But if somebody's having 4-course dinner for 15 people while I'm out of town, that's a big problem. Yeah. And like, I can't sacrifice my job to go do a television show for 2 months. And then it's also kind of like what Nina Compton said. You're like, I already came in second once. Like, what if I do another show and I like shit the bed on the first challenge? That would be wildly embarrassing. And I can get over that, but it is the fact that like I'm accountable for my time that I'm paid for. So I can't just roll out.
As somebody who just went on another show and lost on the first challenge, you know, I can speak to this a little bit.
Can you tell us the show?
It was when I was just on Tournament of Champions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know, I went on. Yeah, and I lost on the first challenge. You know what I mean? In the qualifier against my good friend Dan Jacobs. But that's a different feel. It's a different feel than Top Chef. You know what I mean? Where it's like Top Chef, that weight felt a lot heavier of like, oh my God, what if I go home first? It felt like there was a, like kind of a, you know, what's it called to it? You know what I mean? A stigma.
A stigma.
A stigma of being like first out there, where it's like Tournament of Champions, it feels different. It's a little bit more lighthearted. It's a little bit more fun. You know, you got like the randomizer. And so it's like a little bit more, you know, tongue in cheek. Right.
And also, okay, talk all the it's okay that you want to, but also you already won Top Chef. So it's a little bit, there's less of a stigma if you go out first because you've already won a show. And also doing Top Chef was, I mean, for me at least, it was my first time doing a cooking competition show. So going out early, you know, it's like that's the tone you set for your career almost. Versus something like Tournament of Champions where everybody's established.
Yeah, I guess that's a really good point. You know what I mean? It is like a lot easier being like, oh, well, I've won before. So it's like I can, you know what I mean, feel a little better about it. But it's still hard. You know what I mean? You still feel like, you know, because like, especially, you know how it is. Like, we've been on a competition show together. And once you go on, everybody's like, you win, you win, you win. Oh, I bet you won. I bet you won. And it's like, no, dude, I got cooked in the first round and I was there for a day. And like, I had a great time and I would absolutely do it again. I had a lot of fun doing it. And I was, you know, feeling all those nerves going into it. Like you just talked about, like, what if I go and I just lose right away? Will that be like so embarrassing for me?
Right.
Of like, the last time I'm on TV, I'm winning Top Chef. And now the next time I'm on TV, I'm going home in a qualifier.
Right.
But you know what? Like, this is going to be like, this is like cheesy, but what helped me like really kind of wrap my head around it and like keeps me lighthearted in it. I'm like, how can I go? And I sit here, and one of the things that's like, now that I have kids, it's like, have to talk to my kids about like, you know, like when they lose like a basketball game and be like, you know, and they're super upset and they're mad. And I'm like, dude, like, hey, like, come on, like, it's a game.
Right.
Like,
right,
you know, don't let this, like, what are you doing? Like, don't like, you know, crash out because you like lost the game.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you know, I'm like telling a 7-year-old this and expecting them to be able to regulate their emotions. And then I'm going on some silly TV show and being like, oh no, I'm going to crash out because I lost and like not want to watch it and like
you're
not
like,
want to
I have
tell
to set
people.
a good example for the kids.
But it's like, but that's how you feel when you're in that situation. You know what I mean? Like you feel that like, you know, frustration, that shame, that whatever. So I think that's helped me give me some perspective. But
That's
I think
good.
like this is, you know, this show's a brand new show. You know, it's the biggest purse that's ever been out there.
Yes,
$1 million.
$1 million.
$1 million. That's
holy moly. What is Top Chef? Is it 250,000 now?
I think it's 250 now.
How much was it when you won? Was it 100?
125.
Okay,
and
so
then,
they're upping the prize there, but that's not $1 million.
It's not $1 million, dude. Millions.
That's real talk. When I heard the prize was $1 million, I was like, maybe I could risk it all because if I win this, even after paying taxes, I would have recouped my losses. But
well, and I mean, like, you know, a friend of mine reached out. They were considering doing it. And I was like, I mean, like, whatever. How many chefs are on it? 12? 16?
Something like that, yeah. I think it's 12.
It's like, when else are you going to have an opportunity where you have better odds, 1 in 12, of winning $1 million? You know what I mean? Like, if I sold you that lotto ticket, you'd buy it every day.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, I mean, like, it's a tremendous opportunity, but it is a lot to put yourself out there. And like, I think, you know, people don't realize, you know, the massive time commitment these shows are, you know, where you're a couple months stopping your life, where TOC also isn't that massive of a time commitment. So it's like, that's the other, like, a lot more lighthearted part
with a lot of
it.
the shows now, what they do is if you get eliminated, you get to go home instead of having to stay sequestered. When we did Top Chef, if you went out first, second, third, whatever, you were still sequestered for that entire 2-month period. Yeah.
We all went home the same day.
Because they didn't want people going home like, oh, you went out early, because then people in your lives and in the restaurant community would know that you went out early or didn't win. So it was just like, nope, just send everybody back at the same time and nobody will know.
And I think that's what they did with this one too, with this new Padma show. But I think, you know, one of the interesting things to me about it, it's like Top Chef, I think, is interesting because I felt like Top Chef was the first cooking show where you also had the reality portion of it. When we were on the show, they would say, oh, we're going to shoot morning reality or night reality, I think is what they called it.
Okay.
Remember? And like, they would come and just like film us at the house.
And like doing whatever. I would just lock myself in a bedroom, honestly. I was like, if I don't give you anything to work with, you don't have anything to work with.
But they had that portion of it. It wasn't just chefs cooking in the kitchen.
That's true.
We were being at the house. We were getting up in the morning. We were being in cars on our way to things. You know, there was all these other parts to it. And I felt like that was the first show that ever did that. Yeah. And so I'm curious with the stuff, you know, hearing about this new show where they're like, we want, you know, the best chefs cooking the best food, right? It's like, so is that reality piece of it removed?
Oh, probably. I mean, that's I wonder. Yeah.
Like, because I haven't seen anything on that. Like, where are they living? Are they in hotels? Or is it just like they cook, they go home, we don't see them when they go home? You know what I mean? It's just that classic format of a Chopped or Tournament of Champions where you see them cooking and you see them in an interview. And that's it.
Right.
There's no, you know what I mean, extracurricular
no reality
stuff.
Side to it. Yeah. Because like, I do remember when I got the call from one of the producers on the show, I was kind of hyped. First of all, I'm like, oh, wow, you guys thought of me? Like, that's dope. I would love to do the show. And then the more I got into the reality of going away for 2 months, I was like, I don't know if I can make this happen. But when they were talking me through the process, was really cool to hear that they were changing things up significantly from the way they did it on Top Chef. So I kind of saw it as like Padma is coming for Top Chef, in a way challenging the show, but also changing the paradigm a little bit, because they were saying, we really want to focus on the cooking. You know, we're not going to stress people out with crazy challenges. You have to run a mile up a hill and then come down the hill in a shopping cart and then jump out and start cooking. Like, they weren't doing any of that. None of that. Nothing like fish in this pond and catch a trout and then you can go cook it. It was just like, cook the best food that you possibly can. And here's some parameters for the challenge. But it was just like, we want these chefs to make the best dishes that they can in whatever theme we give them. And they were challenging them in different ways on like different styles of cuisine. So you have to be able to know a little pastry. You have to know other cultures' cuisines. You have to pretty much all the things that you think of for a well-rounded chef. What makes a well-rounded chef? Understanding of different techniques, understanding of different cuisines, all of that they were trying to wrap up in this show and take away the stressful drama and just focus on the technique, which I thought was really cool. And I was like, I could thrive in that environment.
I think that's really cool. And I think like from a chef's perspective, we think that's really cool. But I think it's one of those things where it's like, you know, there's a ton of cooking shows out there, right? And there's a ton of cooking competition shows out there.
Yeah.
And I think they're hard to make like really good ones. Like we've even seen, you know, like, you know, that relaunch of Iron Chef they brought back with Chris and Kish. You know what I mean? And they had monster names on that. You know, Netflix, it was going to be huge. And that thing just didn't catch. You know what I mean? For some reason. There's that one that just came out, Next Gen Chef. We'll see if that one comes back. You know, there's
Next Level Chef.
There was another Bravo one, Around the World in 80 Plates. You know, there's been a million Top Chef spinoffs, you know, Top Chef Amateurs. That, you know what I mean? There was one season of that. The Top Chef Masters, which I think were the best, you know, from a chef perspective, but it's like, they must not have done well because they've never run them back. For me as a chef, like the Top Chef Masters were the greatest parts of the Top Chef franchise. But I think for viewers, they must not have felt the same way. So I think there's an interesting dynamic for like, as chefs, what we want.
Right.
So that'll be the interesting thing, I think, with this show is like, you and I here, it's all about the cooking. We're like, oh, let's go, dude. You're going to set me up. You're going to give me a full armory. You're going to give me a full everything. And I just got to go toe to toe. Your best, my best. You know what I mean? Controlled conditions, everything we need. We're not in a food truck. We're not at, you know what I mean, 15,000 feet of elevation. And we're just going to, you know what I mean? It's the, you know, I'm going to point at the middle of the ring. You're going to meet me there and we're going to throw.
Right.
We're going to throw till the clock goes, right?
Chefs are like, give me that all day.
Right.
But viewers.
But does that make a good show? Is what we're going to see. And I think that's the most exciting part to me. It's like, is that going to make a show that people are going to be super into?
I also wonder, because there are so many cooking competition shows now, is the market too saturated? Why are cooking shows so popular? Like, I have so many questions about this in general. Like, when we were growing up and coming up, a lot of cooking shows were Paul Prudhomme in the kitchen, Rachel Ray, or Yan Can Cook,
Emerald.
Julia Child, Emerald, right? Like, all these chefs
were all
showcasing how to make something.
Standing in a kitchen, and they were making a dish every day. They were teaching you how to cook. Those were cooking shows. Cooking shows existed as like teaching you how to cook. And the only real competition show that was out there was like the OG Iron Chef, right?
Yes.
And then, you know, it was like all like super dubbed Japanese. And then they started having the American chefs there. And then 𝗵𝗶𝗆 𝗂 up and wins and stands on the cutting board. And then everybody hates 𝗵𝗶𝗆 because he stood on a cutting board.
I remember that episode so vividly. I was sitting on my couch. I think I was in college when it came out. And I was just sitting there watching it. And he jumped up on the cutting board. I was like, why would he do that? Everybody from that moment. That's, I think, why they started that show, Beat 𝗵𝗶𝗆, because everybody was so angry at him. He was like the villain in the culinary world.
But I mean, it's just interesting how it shifted. Now that I feel like there's way fewer of those shows where they're just showing you how to cook, right? And it's like, and none of them are like the really, really big name chefs. You know what I mean? Guy Fieri doesn't have a show where he's just like, hey, it's Tuesday with Guy and we're making, you know, Flavortown enchiladas. That doesn't exist, I think, as much. You see it more, I feel like, now with like celebrities, where you have like Stanley Tucci and like you know,
Right.
Selena Gomez and, you know, like all these like big name celebrities who they'll have chefs on cooking with them. I think the only person really in that space still is like Ina Garten.
Yeah. Yeah. Martha Stewart's not
Um,
in the kitchen cooking and doing stuff like that. And I think you made a really good point. The shows used to be about teaching people how to cook. Now it's about entertainment. And I think something that is really interesting is that now people are learning how to cook by watching videos on social media, and they're
mhm.
watching the cooking shows for entertainment. So if I want to learn a technique, or if I want to learn how to make sheet pan chicken with roasted mushrooms or something, I'm not necessarily watching the cooking shows for that. I'm consuming that on TikTok or IG.
Right. I'm going to
So it's
Chef
less
Adrienne
about
Cheatham's
teaching.
Instagram and watching her, you know, make something. But it's like, because you can do that from there. That's not, you know what I mean? You don't have to create a whole show. You know what I mean? There's
Right.
influencers all over the world where they're just doing cooking out of their apartments and backyards and wherever it may be. So I think it's just an interesting shift. So it's like, one is like, is there room in this space for another great cooking competition show? And I love them. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? I think they're really fun. And I think anything, you know, the one thing I'll say about going on Tournament of Champions is in that space, like, you know, the first day, like Guy Fieri sits everybody down and he's like, hey, he's like, this is about you. This is about you
Mm.
getting your name out there, your brand out there. This is about bringing awareness to what you're doing. Like, talk about your restaurants, talk about your food, talk about whatever's important to you while you're out there. You don't know
Oh,
how
that's
many episodes
awesome.
you get. You don't know how much time you get. Like, get your brand out there, get your name out there. Like
That's
anything you
cool.
can do. That's what this is about. And so I think like cooking shows as a functionality of that are super, super important, right? It's hard to get
Yeah.
your brand out there. It's hard to
Right.
run a restaurant. It's hard to, you know what I mean, plant your
Cut through the
flag.
noise.
You
Yeah.
know, it's like we were talking, you know, when we were talking to Eli and he's talking about how, you know, the pinnacle of chefs he makes fun of, he goes, because it's been the same 10
For
people at the top
20 years. Right.
for 20 years. And
Yeah.
you're like, you know, and that was kind of like a whoa, like, yeah, you're right. And so it's like to
Right.
try to break into that, you got to do anything you can. And I think
Yeah.
these cooking shows provide a great vehicle for the you and me's coming up,
Mm-hmm.
trying to, you know, mark our flags next to these giants, these
Yeah.
Danielles, these
Because
Thomas Kellers.
you can be an amazing chef. You can have 4 restaurants, 1 restaurant, 6 restaurants, and cook amazing food across all of your outlets. But how do you cut through the noise? How do you get people's attention to know that you exist, that your restaurants exist, that they should come to them? How do you, like you said, put yourself out there and get those eyes on you, which translates into butts in seats, which at the end of the day is what keeps restaurants open, is people coming into them. So I love that he tells you guys to go ahead and talk about it, because a lot of times as chefs, we're really timid and don't want to feel like we're tooting our own horn too much. We're always, you know, chefs are kind of self-deprecating. We're kind of like, I don't want to seem egotistic or self-centered. So we always downplay, and going on television is like, no, this is your chance to do that. So I love that he actually encourages the chefs to do it, because he's right. You never know how many shots you're going to get these people's eyes on you. So when they come to your town, they can come to your restaurant. Or if they live in your area, they can come to your restaurant.
Right. You never know what, you know, all the stuff we do, you know, media, whatever it is, shows like what's going to hit for somebody in what market. And so it'll be interesting, I think, with this show, with Padma's new show, like one that it's going toe to toe with Top Chef, I
Right.
think is
That's crazy.
like, you know, it's like, it'll be interesting. Like, is anybody going to say anything about it? Like, is she
I
going to say
mean,
anything? Like, is she going to address that? Is Tom going to address that? Like, who, you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
are
know what that,
Gail, Kristen, and Tom gonna say anything? Like, are they excited for each other? Does the production studio behind Top Chef and the production behind America's Culinary Cup, are they mad? Is there bad blood?
right.
Like, should we start singing Taylor Swift? Like, is there
Right.
bad
That's what I'm
blood,
saying.
or is it all
You know what I
love?
mean? That's what I'm saying. Like this is Belichick and Brady. Is like what I feel like. This is Belichick and Brady, where it's like when it's all said and done at the end of the day, if everybody's successful, it might be all good, it might be all right. But I think it's just like massive and it's wild and something, you know, we couldn't have imagined 10 years ago.
No,
Um,
absolutely not.
so I am excited to see where this goes. And I think it is really, really hard to make a good cooking show and you never know what's going to hit with people. So even if it's something that you and I like,
Right.
You know what I mean? It may not.
Does that translate to the broader market? So this is one side of cooking competition shows, but there's another side of cooking competition shows that you and I have both been on too. Besides competing in front of the camera, we've also judged. And that is a completely different process than what people see when they watch these shows. So should we pull back the curtain a little bit so people can get to know what it's like to judge these shows?
Without
should we do a little line check on that?
Yeah. And I think it's like, you know, one of the funniest questions I always get about that is people will ask me, and I don't know if you get this, where they're like, well, you know, like, oh, we saw you went back and judged. Like, would you rather be judging or competing? It's like judging. Like
all day.
What?
Like, all day.
You know what I mean? Like crazy? Like
right.
Judging is, one, I will say it's really fun. It's whenever I've gotten the opportunity to do it, and I've only ever done it on Top Chef related things. I did, Top Chef. I think Top Chef Juniors was the first thing I ever judged with Curtis Stone, and the other co-host was Vanessa Lachey, who is Nick Lachey's wife.
Nick Lachey's wife.
Which was funny because I didn't know that at the time. She was like, oh, I'm Vanessa. And I was like, oh, I'm Joe. And I remember Hillary texted me at one point during the filming. She was like, how's it going? I'm like, it's good. I go, you're not going to believe this. I'm like, this lady next to me, this co-host, Vanessa, I go, she has her background on her phone is like Nick Lachey from like 98 Degrees. I was like, so weird and random, isn't it? And she's like, that's her husband. I was like, oh, I thought she was just like a big boy band fan. I was like, oh, that's weird. Somebody really never let that go.
Right. Joe, you crack me up.
That was the first time I had ever done it. And I've only ever done Top Chef once. And like going back and getting to sit there on that side of it is mind blowing. Right?
Yeah, it is. I've only done Top Chef once, but I've done a lot of shows on Food Network. Like I've judged on 𝗵𝗱𝗺𝗺𝗀𝗵𝗄𝗧. I want to say I'm at like 14 or 15 times judging on that show. It's my favorite, to be honest.
Damn, you like famous, huh?
Well, the judges on 𝗵𝗱𝗺𝗺𝗺, the judges are on for maybe 2 minutes of the show. So it's 15 times, maybe a total of 30 minutes across all those times of screen time. But I love doing it. I've judged on a bunch of Food Network shows, but only on Top Chef one time. And every show is so different in how they do the judging. It's crazy. It's like you're on set for, depending on the show, you can be on set for 6 hours, 8 hours for judging a quick segment. On 𝗵𝗱𝗺𝗺𝗺𝗀, they trim it down. So you're only on set for maybe 3 hours, and it's efficient. They get you in just in enough time before the cook ends. And the reason I love that show so much, so I don't know if I can talk about this, but I'm about to. The thing that makes Bobby's show so different is how the judges taste the food. So 𝗵𝗱𝗺𝗺𝗺𝗀 is one of the few, or all the Bobby shows actually, are the few shows where the judges eat it twice. You get the dish 2 times. One time, as soon as that clock stops, the food is whisked to the judges off camera, and you eat it while it's hot, while it's fresh, still crunchy, still steaming, because they want you to judge them at the dish's peak. They want all the judges to say, Bobby's best, this chef's best, toe to toe, hot, fresh. They're not giving you one, and then 30 minutes later you get the other.
Do you know whose dish is whose on that show?
No, you don't know. You're in a blackout tent.
That's true blind, right?
Truly blind. You're in a blackout tent. You don't hear. It's
Do you
close
know
to the
who
stage.
He's going against?
Nope.
Oh, wow.
You only get the description of the dish and what their line is. So it's told to the judges like it's a menu description. So It could be teriyaki chicken wings with red cabbage coleslaw, or it could be fisherman's pie with whipped mashed potato brulee topping. It could be anything, but that's all that you get. And you eat the dish right away while it's hot. You take notes. So all the judges, were not influencing each other's thoughts. We're taking notes on the dishes ourselves. Then we taste the second one, get the description, take notes on that. And then you talk it through with the producers about what you liked and what you didn't like. And then you get on camera maybe 15 minutes later and they bring a complete dish that hasn't been touched but has been sitting there, that has been photographed, it's gotten the beauty shots done, and you just are playing with it on camera. Like, you know, you take a bite or two, but that's not the actual tasting.
Yeah.
But I love that because you're eating it hot and fresh, whereas some shows, the dishes are going to be photographed for 30 minutes. So by the time the judges get them, they're cold. They're not like the chef intended it. If you've got a sauce or something, you know, creamy or it could seize up. It could completely change the eating experience.
Right. And, you know, like that's, you know, interesting to me because I've only experienced it on Top Chef and I've been on it 3 or 4 times maybe. And I've done like elimination challenges and Quickfires. And the Quickfires is interesting because, as you know, like we both did them and like they told us going into them, they're like, we're going to judge the dishes as quick as we can. We start at random which side we're going on. And so like if you're, especially in those early on Quickfires, right? When there were 16 of us, if you're last person, it's like, you know what I mean? You hope is, you know, your best ally. But like, you know, I did a Quickfire, I think it was the Wisconsin season, and it was like either second or third episode. So there were like 14 chefs there.
Wow.
And so we were doing the Quickfire and we're like working through it. And it was a hops challenge.
Oh,
and so like they had to cook everything with hops. And it was like, so we eat 14 dishes. It was me and Kish. I'm like, oh my God, we're like going and going and going. And that was like my first time doing a Quickfire of having to rip through 14 dishes. Like, and you're trying to do it at a pace so that like you can get to everybody's dish while it's still in good shape.
Right,
you know
because
what I mean?
You want to be fair as a judge.
Right. And so it's like we probably went through, I would bet we tasted 14 dishes in less than 20 minutes.
Whoa. Holy moly.
But it's hard in that one because like in the Quickfire, you can't go back. Really. Right. Like you taste the dish, you kind of have to put it in your head and you kind of have to catalog it. And like in my mind, at least, I was like, okay, like A level dish, B level dish, C level dish. Right.
Okay.
And like just try to categorize them all real quick, put them in my head and then be like, okay, out of those 3 A's, what was the best one? And, you know, out of those 3 C's, what was the worst one?
Okay.
So like that was like.
Did anybody get D's or F's?
I think I just left it in 3 in my head. But it was easier to find the worst one than the best one.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like on the best one, you're like, tweak here, tweak there. But like the worst one, you were like, man, this didn't go your way, huh, bud?
Yeah.
And so, but then like when I've had to do the elimination challenges, I think the interesting thing about Top Chef, and I don't, again, not having been on a lot of other shows, is like the judges table and deliberation is, there's no time set on that.
Oh, so it
like
can continue.
After we taste, when we go to table, it's like a jury. You sit in that room till you have a verdict.
Yeah.
And everybody sits there and you go back and forth and you say, you know, because I have in my mind, you know, and I've been on ones where it's like, you know, other people at the table are like, this is the best dish. And I was like, I thought that was the worst dish.
Right. That's so crazy. That happened to me when I judged Top Chef too. I was like, are we talking about the same thing?
And so it was interesting of like, you know, either like maybe like me and Tom agreed on a dish or, you know, Kristen and Gal agreed on a dish or me and Kristen agreed or me and Gal agreed. And like there were some things that we were all universal on right away. So that was interesting. It's like ones I've sat in where everybody was like, yeah, this is, you know, and Top Chef, it's like the other part of it, like the worst dish really, really matters, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like, you know, sometimes I felt like I've sat in ones where it's like, this was the best dish. It's not close. You know what I mean? Who are the other top 3? But then like when you got to worst dish, that's where you were really hashing it out or vice versa, you know, because then you get into, there's all the like little parts of it of like, okay, well you have the challenge and how much of this was just like, yo, this is a bad dish, just straight up. This was bad cooking, bad food. But I will say, like, as somebody, you know, as we both competed on that show, what I did appreciate about going back and judging was like how serious they took it, like how thorough it was, how like nothing was taken lightly. Every part of it, like we talked about it for like, and it wasn't like, hey guys, you got 10 minutes, you have to make a decision. It was like the producers left you alone,
right?
And they would let you talk for, you know, I was on ones that took 30 minutes. They were easy. It was quick. And ones where it's like hour and a half, 2 hours.
Do you remember how long we were out there while they were deliberating the finale?
Yeah.
It was literal hours.
Right. And I think part
hours.
of that is like, for us on our season, it's like, I remember somebody told me later, they go, the biggest problem with ours was like, because where they filmed it, they had to like, where they were going to shoot, they had to move everything for judges table, right? They had to break everything down. They had to build the judges table there. And then they couldn't build the judges table there while the sun was still up.
Oh my gosh.
Because they wouldn't have been able to shoot it. They couldn't have blacked out the whole back of it. So part of our wait was that they had to wait for the sun to go down.
And here
we
thought
were
it was
literally on top of a mountain in Colorado.
I thought the food was just so good that it was really hard to decide. Thanks, Joe, for crushing my...
No, but I think that's part of, you know what I mean? That's a really big part of it. But I think like the finales are a little bit easier to judge because it's less people.
Yeah. You're down to two
It's head to head.
Right.
It's like 1-1, 1-1, 1-1. So you can line them up and be like, you know what I mean?
When I judged Top Chef, there were 8 people. I forget the season that it was. It was the first season that Buddha won. The first time he won.
Oh, in Houston.
Yep. And
I judged that season too. That's funny.
Nice. Yep. And we were out on, what was that island off of Houston?
Galveston?
Yep, we were in Galveston, and as we're sitting, they had just set up the judges table. Like you said, it wasn't built before because that's where the food was being set out, and we were doing the tasting. So they had to clear that after. We waited an hour, maybe 2, and then we can come back out to do the judges' verdict and that. When I tell you a storm rolled in, and it blew Tom's hat off his head. My hair was flying everywhere. The rain just started coming at us sideways. It was like me, Sheldon, Padma, Tom, and Gail, and the rain just came in from the left side and like blew everything over. So they had to rush and collect the set that was blowing around and rebuild it inside of the building.
Yeah.
And then we had to redo the judges table.
Like, because those Top Chef days where it's like, if you're at like the final judges table when they're like making those announcements, it's like you're on set for a dozen hours.
Yeah.
Because you have to do the walkthrough in the morning and like, whatever it is, like you're there for a long time.
Yeah, those are long days.
And it's like, it's nice to be on the other side of it where you get to sit behind the desk and you get to have your phone and you get to hang out, like chop it up.
So for you, cook or judge, it's judge. What about if you were invited to go on a show? Would it be to cook and demo a dish, or would it be to compete, like a quick fire 30-minute challenge?
Oh, I think like I've always wanted to be on one of those shows where it's like get to like demo a dish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like me and Ina Garten, and she'd be like, "Oh, I think Jeffrey's gonna love this pasta you made, Joe."
Yes.
Or like me and Selena Gomez hanging out, like whatever.
Yeah.
She hasn't mentioned it bringing me on the show yet.
She hasn't? She asked me about you.
Yeah.
When I did the show, she asked me, she was like, "Who's that guy that beat you on Top Chef?"
That's why I haven't been invited, because of you. But like I've always wanted to do that. I think it's part of it, like we said earlier, where it's like we grew up watching those shows, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's like when we were coming up, like if you were a celebrity chef, right? You know what I mean? If you were a TV chef, like that's what they were referring to.
Right.
You know what I mean? You had the towel on your shoulder and you had a studio audience and, hey, welcome everybody, doing that. Like, it was like,
I miss those shows. I miss them so much. Yes, you're learning something because they would drop some food knowledge in there. They would really like deep dive into one technique that's being done on that show. And the dish that's being done, the ingredients that are being done on that show. And it's also just like, it's kind of relaxing. Like, it's just kind of like, you're in somebody's kitchen and they're talking to you while they cook. I really miss those shows. I loved it.
I would watch like hours of those shows.
I like
the competition you just put on Food Network and you watch, 9 hours of Emeril.
Right.
And you're like, and so it's like, for me, it would be that, you know what I mean? Like, I think I like romanticize those shows a lot in my head. And like, and they also feel like a bygone era. Like you couldn't do it if you wanted to, you know what I mean? Like if we were like, oh, we're just going to do Adrienne and Joe and we're going to have a live studio audience.
Oh, that would be so much fun. Are you kidding me?
No, it would be so much fun.
We would have a blast. You cook the app, I cook the entree, or vice versa, or I'll do a dessert today. Oh my God, Joe, we need to pitch that.
I miss that era of cooking shows. And it's like, and I like, listen, going to compete on these shows. Like, I think you said it though. And I think you said a part that people don't talk about enough. Like, it is really scary to put yourself out there like that. It is a super high level of vulnerability to be like, oh, I'm going to go and I'm just going to like cook on a TV show in front of the world and see how it goes and get judged by my peers and people I don't know and, you know, people on the internet. But I think like it is a great privilege to get to go and do those things, right? That's not what we got in this industry. We didn't start cooking because we were like, oh, we're going to, like, I really got to figure out a way to get on the Bravo network. And I don't think I have the money to be a real housewife. So, you know,
so my next thing is cooking.
Right. So it's like the cooking shows are really cool and they're really fun. And I think it's like always, you know, like even, you know, the last one I did, Tournament of Champions, where it's like got to meet a bunch of new people from different places. And that's always really fun and cool. And just you know, Dan and I were talking like, you got a bunch of, you know, the people you know who you see on it. It's like, that one was fun because it's like in the downtime, it's like a bunch of people who I knew who like, I never get a chance to just like sit around and chop it up.
Right. That's the real, to me, that is the best part of both competing and judging is the people that you meet, the camaraderie. Some of my closest friends in like the New York cooking world are not just coworkers that I've had working in restaurants on the line, but people that I like met judging a show with, because you're sitting there for a few hours together, you get to know each other, you talk, you have a good time, and then you keep, if they're cool and like you keep in touch with these people. And it's like, I love what you're doing. I'm going to come check out your new restaurant. Congratulations on that new review or that new write-up. Like, you know, it's encouraging. It's that camaraderie. And the same thing with competing. It's like, when are you ever around such a high number of people that you have so much in common with, that are all like at the same place at the same time? It's just such an amazing thing.
Well, and like the funny thing, so Tournament of Champions for the qualifier, it's like the way they did it was, you know, there's 16 of us and they put all our names in a bingo ball thing and they rolled the thing. And then so you got picked at random. And so I'm sitting there in a room with 16 people. And one of those people is my old boss and mentor, Stephanie Izzard. Yep. Another one is 𝗪𝗓𝗄 𝗀𝗄𝗄, who's a friend, a chef, someone who I've looked up to my whole career, who I almost worked for early in my career. Dan Jacobson is there, somebody I've been friends with for 15 years, you know, who I've cooked together with many times. And then there was like a bunch, you know, a couple other names in the room who it's like I knew who they were or like we had met. And so like as the balls started going out of the thing and there were less people in the room, I'm like, we're down to like the chances of me going up against like Steph, Giuseppe, or Dan are raising by the moment. Where it's like this is a very different challenge for one of them versus, you know, some, you know, random person. This is my first time meeting, right? But I will say, like, having to go against Dan, it was like very much made me like, okay, I need to be like on it. Like I have to have my A game. Like I know I know the way he cooks. We've cooked together. I know he's not gonna like make a mistake. So I can't, you know, I have to be technically perfect, right? Because I know he will be. So it's like I'm not gonna win on any technical thing. So this is just gonna be like, who has the better dish today? It's like, you know, the same as like going up against you in the final. It's like, you're not going to forget to season something. You're not going to not taste your food. You're not going to do a dish that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be like that percent in between 99 and 100. Yeah. Where it's like, I'm going to have to beat you. And like the same with him. And it's like that day, it's like he had that 1%. Yep. And, you know, it got that 1 point. But it's like, that was kind of like the crazy thing about that one. Where it's like Top Chef, you know, it's like we didn't know each other. We got to know each other along the way. Right, right.
And then by the end, we're like, wow, like I just, you know, being in the room with everybody. Once you get over the initial nerves of like, wow, we're really being filmed while we're cooking and doing this. That's a whole new thing. But once you get over those initial nerves, it was just like, you feel like you're in a room of people who get you. Right. Everybody gets you. They really get you. You all are pushed and driven by the same things. You've had some of the same experiences, a lot of mutual friends in the room. You know, it's like just 2 or 3 degrees of separation sometimes. Right. And
it's such a different push to yourself of like the combo of pushing yourself, like creatively with speed on the fly at a pace.
Yep.
And it's intoxicating, like the feeling of it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's one of those things where you're like, you know, when you're like, oh, which one of those shows would you want to do? It's like, I don't know that I necessarily want to do a cooking again, but the feeling when you're in it, you're like,
okay, well, that's a good question. So if you were knowing how Top Chef is and knowing that it's a lot influenced by the location and knowing the Top Chef format versus what we've seen from the preview so far of America's Culinary Cup, Padma's new show, which would you do if you were to go back and do a cooking competition show? Which would it be? Padma's or Top Chef?
I think it'd probably be, for me and like the way I cook, I think Top Chef is more advantageous for me because I feel like I cook a lot of live fire. I cook a lot of rustic style. I think my strength is making it work. It's like, you know what I mean? Whereas like that show looks very like controlled fine dining, where I think like that to me from a cooking perspective is like the idea of being in like, oh, we're going to go cook on this beach or we're going to cook in this mountain. Like that part of it is really exciting to me. I like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you thrive in the chaos of it.
Yeah, that's my shit. So I think I probably still...
I thrive in the controlled environment where I know what level of variables can happen versus the wind blowing my fire out while I'm cooking. Like I don't want that.
Right. Yeah. So you saying you would go Culinary Cup?
I think so. I mean, part of me still feels like I have something to prove on Top Chef. I still want to go back and do that. But the environment and the controlled environment of Padma's new show, to me, that looks like the kind of thing that's more my jam. Where you thrive in the chaos of Top Chef. I can do the chaos, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit like I freeze up a little bit.
Right. And I think that's the interesting part of it, where I'm just like...
I have a 30-second freeze, and then I'm like, okay, let's go. But in that other one, I would just be go from the beginning.
Right. Where it's like, yeah, I like the little bit of the thrill of the unknown.
Well, Joe, I think after our last episode, I think you're up for Walk-In Confession this week.
I think you're right. And so... You know, we were talking about all these competition shows today. And so I wanted to take it back to the first time I ever did one, which
It wasn't Top Chef?
I did one before that.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So when I worked for Steph, and this is how it went down. She had a competition. We call it the Iron Goat competition. And I won the first Iron Goat to be one of her sous chefs to go on Iron Chef.
Oh my God. So you guys competed in the restaurant first to see who would go with her?
Yes.
Wow.
So I won that, and I got to go with Steph too. And this was the Iron Chef era of like Michael Simon, Morimoto. I think Jose Garces was one. I think 𝗀𝗃𝗃 was one of the Iron Chefs.
Mississippi's own.
So we get set up, and then how the old school that Iron Chef used to work is, you know, and I never signed anything, so I don't care. So I'm gonna fucking blow this up. Was as the challenging chef, they gave you 3 ingredients that it could possibly be.
Okay.
So they said before we came, they were like, it's either going to be battle bread, battle octopus, or whole bone-in New York strip. Those were the
3 wildly different options.
So, like, this is like the week before we go. So Steph writes a menu for bread. She writes a menu for octopus. For whole bone-in New York strip, she just goes, hey, if it's this one, just figure it out.
Yeah, it's
to
like
me
steak,
and the other
like,
chef.
Yeah.
She's like, just make like super tasty shit. Like, you know what to do. So we're like, all right, we got it. We fly to New York. Go the next day it used to film at Chelsea Market. So we go to Chelsea Market. What they do is then they take you upstairs and they show you your pantry, because you got to request a pantry.
Okay.
So based on your pantry, you would know what menu you had, because your different pantries had different things. So like what we keyed in on was like, for battle bread, there would be lobsters, because we had requested lobster for battle bread, and I forget what we requested for the other things. So we got upstairs, we looked at the pantry, we saw the lobster. We're like, all right.
It's bread.
It's bread. We're on. So I'm like, all right. They saw the pantry and like, I'd never done TV before. I didn't know how anything worked. So I'm like, all right. We're like, my adrenaline starts like flowing. I'm like, we're going. The next time we see Steph, they like walk us out onto the Iron Chef like floor.
Oh, wow.
So now we're like standing in the floor on Iron Chef. Like we're there. It's like me and Dave and Steph. And then we look over and there's
chairman.
Michael Symon and his team, the chairman's standing up there. There's people all around us. And we're like, we thought we were going to get to talk to Steph again before it started.
Oh,
and,
gosh.
They're like, all right, you guys are going to get like, we're going to announce it. You guys are going to huddle real quick and then we're going to go. So you're like,
oh my
God. All right. So I'm like sitting there, like, like jumping up and down. Like it's like about to be kickoff. I'm just like, so, as and I know, doing cooking shows now, how it works is they always do a false start first, right?
Right.
So they're like, and, the chairman comes out and he's like, and battle bread. And, they lift up the thing. And, me and Dave, start running and they're like, oh, stop. We're like, wait, what? And I'm like, I'm shaking.
Yeah.
And they're like, hold on, we got to like reset. And it's like, it's only, 30 seconds, right? It's not like any real amount of time. But then, they kind of reset. And then like very nonchalantly, they're like, all right, now we're going. You're like, wait, what? They're
right.
like, yeah, now we're going. You're just
That's
like,
so anticlimactic.
You're like, fuck. So we're like running around. We get into it. We're like going. We all have our tasks. Like I'm making this thing. I have to cut up this bread. I have to make this bread sauce. I have to do whatever. First thing I do, go grab the bread, big thing of brioche, take the knife through the bread, knife tip right into my hand.
Oh, that was me on our first challenge of Top Chef.
And
Same thing.
And I was just like, no.
Oh,
I'm like, I don't got time for this. So I just
did you just put a glove on and?
I just put a glove on and I'm just like, and I like put it on, like, I'm like, they're all looking at Steph. No one's looking at me. It doesn't matter. So I just like slid a glove on. I'm like, this is fine. So you know what I mean? I just keep going. I'm still cooking. And it's like at one point I go to take my my glove off and it's like, you just got like the glove filled with blood.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like, ooh. So then I'm like trying to like rinse it off low and like scrub my hand. And then I just like, I just literally like tied a towel around my hand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're just going to have to make this work. And then it was like 2 minutes later, I like grab a pan. I forgot it's hot, like burn the shit out of that same hand. I was like, oh my God, this is going terrible. Then I finally like, we're running, get the fucking sauce made. I bring like the sauce over to Steph. I remember I take the spoon. I'm like, chef, taste this. I give her it. She tells me, she goes, oh, that's fucking terrible. I was like, well, what? She goes, this fucking terrible. Fix it. So I go back. I add a little more salt. I think I put a pinch of lemon in, rip the blender again, bring it back over, taste it. She's like, oh yeah, that's great. Thanks. And I was just like, what the fuck? So,
oh gosh.
We finally get done. And like the weird one of like talking about judging is they do a coin flip of who gets to plate first. So you have to finish in the time. And you have to plate one of each of your dishes. Because I think it was 4 dishes they used to do on Iron Chef.
Okay.
So you plate one of each 4. And then they flip a coin and somebody gets to present first. And then what they used to do is they'd give you 15 minutes for each course to plate the judges one. So then you go back and like.
So you can heat things up.
Yeah, like they worded it like you couldn't cook anything, but you could like get things hot again.
Okay.
And like plate. So you had like 15 minutes to like replate each course, which they make it sound like you can do almost nothing. But the biggest rub of that one was like, one, the Iron Chefs knew what the ingredient was. They knew ahead of time what the ingredient was going to be. Okay. The other thing is like, since they knew how it worked, like what somebody told me later, I met somebody who was on one of the teams, like, because they all had their teams, right? Those people that were on their Iron Chef teams.
Yeah, every episode if they're competing.
And he goes, bro, one of the biggest things we did, he goes, we never seasoned anything until we got into the 15-minute window. He goes, because the first plate you put up, he's like, is beauty. He goes, so all the sauces, everything.
Gosh.
He's like, you don't season them. He goes, till you're in the 15-minute window.
Wow.
So you're not like wasting time, like going back and forth tasting.
And tasting and re-seasoning.
He's like, you just make the puree and it looks right. And then you put it on the plate.
My gosh.
And you're like, oh. So we go up. We ended up, we ended up
tricks
losing.
that the competitors don't know.
Michael Symon, I think, got like, it was one of the highest scores ever scored on Iron Chef at that battle.
Whoa.
Like he scored like a damn near perfect. Like we had a great showing, but it was like, I forget what amount of points you could score. It was like 95 or something random like that. He scored like a 94.
Wow.
And you had to sit through the judging and we're watching it. And every dish he put up, they were just like, oh, this is the best dish I've ever had. This is the best dish I've ever had. You're just like, fuck.
Oh my gosh.
So we lose by like a point, and it was just like, oh, Steph was so mad. I remember. And like, she was like, she's like, fuck this. Fuck, we went out. We went out that night. We actually went to the Breslin. We sat there, aggressively drank whiskey for like 6 hours, and went to bed. And then I remember when it aired, Steph didn't want to watch it. You know what I mean? And like at the time, for me, I was like, I'm on TV. I'm probably never going to be on TV again. So like, I'm like, this is,
I'm getting everybody together to watch this.
Dude, we had 100 people upstairs at 𝗏𝗏 in River North. Because one of Hill's friends, my buddy Valerie, she was the like the events person there. So we have the whole top floor. You know what I mean? And like the south side and drones up there. And we had this massive party. And it was so fun. I remember we had hats and, like it was just wild. Like we were having a great time. And like,
that is awesome.
And then it's like, we lost at the end. And everybody's like, oh, yeah.
Who cares?
And I will say, like, that set me up for it's like, nobody cared. Nobody cared that I lost. We partied way late into that night. We had the funnest night. It was an absolute riot. And it was, a good realization for me. It was like, it wasn't about, me winning or losing. It was like all the people who supported me and got me there, like, just got to have a moment where it was like, hey, this is really cool.
That's so awesome. They get to see you on TV doing your thing, and you get to see their support and love for you.
Yeah. So it's really funny. So every once in a while, like it'll be like, I'll have like a new cook or something, or somebody will be like, dude, I saw an old Iron Chef the other night, and like, were you on it? Because I'm like, I think I'm 25 in the episode.
Aw, baby Joe.
And you know what I mean? I got the bandana on, and like it's so it's a funny like time capsule. But that was my first one. But after I did that one, I was like, oh, I don't, like who knows if I'll ever get to do anything like that again.
And here you are now.
And like, let alone, that you and I were going to go on this Top Chef adventure together.
You've competed, you've judged, and it all started with Joe on Iron Chef as a 𝗬. I did not know that. That is so awesome.
I will say, if they ever bring back Iron Chef, though, that's the
it's
smoke
going down.
That's the smoke I want.
I want that. I want all that smoke.
Like that's the one where it's like, I am like, it's like, as much as like I try to say like, losing whatever and dealing with it. It's like, I would say the biggest one in my craw is still that one from being 25 with Steph, where it's like, I'm like, I still feel like we got unfinished Iron Chef business, where it's like, I would go back on Iron Chef tonight if they called. I'd be like,
form that team like Voltron. Let's go.
I would be like, yo, we're going. I don't care what we got to do. I don't care if we got to shut the restaurants down. I don't care if we got to drive to New York. I'd be like, get in the truck, boys. We're going.
That's it for this episode of The Chef's Cut. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening, especially if you're watching us on YouTube, where you can find full-length videos of every episode. And be sure to rate and review. For Joe Flam, I'm Adrienne 𝗀 𝗖𝗵𝗲𝗳, and this has been The Chef's Cut. Life beyond the pass.